Hello children, welcome to SR Concepts. I am Ravi Verma and this is the sixth part of the chapter number 2, that is Matter Around Us Pure, from your NCERT textbook of science. In the previous video we have discussed about fractional distillation method for separation of components of air. In this video we are going to start with another method of separation, that is called crystallization. Okay, so we will discuss this method by the help of an objective, by the help of an activity. We have an objective of how can we obtain pure copper sulfate from an impure sample. So we have a copper sulfate solid, that is a blue colored solid, and it has some impurities. We have to separate the pure copper sulfate, and the method that we will use will be crystallization. So first of all we will understand how we will do this by the help of activity number 2.9. We will take around 5 gram of impure sample of copper sulfate in a china dish. Then we will dissolve it in the minimum amount of water, means we will take very little amount of water, very small amount of water, and we will dissolve copper sulfate in it so that a highly concentrated solution is obtained. Okay, after that we will filter it. So that the particulate impurities will be separated. Now we will heat it. We will heat the solution. On heating the solution, water will evaporate. Alright, water will evaporate, and we will find a saturated solution at a higher temperatures. Alright, so we have a china dish. Now we have a solution in this solution is of copper sulfate, right? And this is at higher temperatures, right? This is hot, this is at higher temperatures. Okay, now when we cool a saturated solution, okay, and when we bring the temperature of a saturated solution to lower temperatures, that solubility of the solute gets decreased, and because of decrease in the solubility, the extra amount of solute gets separated from the solution in the form of crystals, which will settle either at the bottom or they will make layer at the top of the solution. Okay, so we have a china dish, we have a saturated solution of copper sulfate at higher temperatures. If we leave it for cooling at room temperature, after some time we will see that certain amount of copper sulfate has settled at the bottom. Alright, settled at the bottom, or it will separate in the form of crystals of copper sulfate. So what we will do after heating it, right, we know that water will get evaporated, and the temperature and water will get evaporated. After some time we will cover the solution with a filter paper and leave it undisturbed at room temperature to cool slowly for a day. You will obtain crystals of copper sulfate in the china dish. This process is called crystallization method, right? So the crystallization method uses the concept of solubility, means solubility decreases when decreasing the temperature of the solution, and because of this the extra amount of solute gets separated in the form of its pure crystals. Okay, now something is written here. What is written? The crystallization method is used to purify solids. For example, salt we get from seawater can have many impurities, and to remove these impurities the process of crystallization is used. So first the salt is obtained by the method of evaporation from seawater. Then the salt that we get has impurities, and we purify this salt. We obtain pure salt from this salt by the method of crystallization. So crystallization is a process that separates a pure solid in the form of its crystals from a solution. So we make a saturated solution, we cool it down so that the pure substance or pure solid gets separated in the form of crystals. Crystallization technique is better than simple evaporation. Why? Because some solids decompose, or some like sugar may get charred on heating to dryness. So if we perform the process of evaporation, then sometimes during evaporation, suppose the sugar will get charred. Charred means its texture will get destroyed, right? And some solids may decompose. So evaporation is not better, crystallization is better, because we are not heating it up to dryness. Okay, some impurities may remain dissolved in solution even after filtration. On evaporation, these contaminate the solid. So if we perform evaporation, then all the solvent is evaporated, and all the solid along with the impurities gets separated. So that's why the solid that we obtain by evaporation is not pure. It may contain impurities. So this is why crystallization is better, because in crystallization method we can obtain pure crystals. Okay, what are the applications of this method? Purification of salt that we get from seawater, this is the application. Another application is purification or obtaining crystals of alum, that is called fitkari, from its impure samples. Okay, so dear students, this was the last method of separation that we have to discuss, right? And we know that by using these methods individually, or by using the combination of these methods, we can separate pure substances even from very complex mixtures. So in today's world, actually, even small molecules may be separated um, from a mixture of different substances. For example, from the cytoplasm of the cell, or from the homogenate of the cells, extracts of the cells, even single proteins can be separated by the method of chromatography, and by using different methods in a combination. Okay, now in your cities, drinking water is supplied from water works, right? So a flow diagram of typical water works is shown in figure number 2.13. Okay, here is the diagram, right? This is showing the steps in which water is purified and then supplied to home. So you have to learn this, and you have to write down the steps that are involved in the whole process of purification of water and supplying it to the homes, right? And you have to discuss it with each other in your class. Okay, so here you see, let me describe a little about it. This is the reservoir, means the main source. Firstly, water from the source comes to a reservoir, then it passes through a sedimentation tank. It is brought to a sedimentation tank. This is a very large tank. So in this tank, if some heavy impurities, if heavy solid impurities are there, they will get settled down. Alright, for example, concrete or sand will get settled down here only. So only the remaining water will move on to the next tank. This is called a loading tank. And in this loading tank, you have studied a method of loading, that is in which we mix some alum and speed up the process of sedimentation. So here in this we add some chemicals like alum, right, which speed up the process of sedimentation. So even the suspended impurities will get settled down here. Okay, now the remaining water will move up to another tank, that is called filtration tank. Here we have set a filter which includes coarse gravel, fine sand. So these things work in combination as a filter. Okay, so the water will get filtered by this filter and will come to another tank, right? In this tank, the water is has means left, means the water which is reaching in this tank is not containing any particular particulate means impurities or solid impurities. Most of the solid impurities have been separated. However, very small particles like bacteria may be there, so microorganisms may be there. To kill microorganisms, we give a gas that is called chlorine, so we perform chlorination here. So because of chlorination, the microorganisms like bacteria and fungus will be killed, and finally the water will be supplied to the homes. So here you can see there are certain important steps. First is sedimentation, then is loading, then filtration, then chlorination. These are the major steps which are followed for purification of water. Okay, now let's move on to the next and the last topic of the video, that is physical and chemical changes. So dear students, sometimes there may be something misleading written in certain books, that reversible changes are chemical changes while physical changes are irreversible. So you need to think that there is no relation of reversibility to physical and chemical changes. So let's understand what are physical and chemical changes. Suppose we have a candle, and this is the wick of the candle. In the wick there is some wax also. Okay, now we bring a burning matchstick close to it. So when we bring a burning matchstick close to the wick, you know, in the wick there is solid wax. First there is solid wax, right? Solid wax. Okay, so when we will heat it, the solid wax will melt and change its physical state to liquid state. But we will not remove the matchstick. We will keep increasing the temperature, so the liquid wax will also get converted into its vapor state, that is gaseous state. So we know that firstly there was a solid wax, then it was liquid wax, it converted into liquid wax, then it converted into gaseous wax, right, or wax vapors. We have studied the concept of ignition temperature. So when these wax vapors will reach to their ignition temperature, then the wax will start burning, the wax vapors will start burning, and the candle will start burning. Now what is happening, these wax vapors which were in gaseous state, wax vapors are burning, then they are reacting with oxygen and probably certain substances like carbon dioxide or water vapors may be produced in this burning. So dear students, here you see I am giving the examples of both physical and chemical change. Firstly, what happened, solid wax get converted into liquid wax, then liquid wax converted into gaseous wax. This changes physical change. Why? Because the substance is same, solid wax then converted into liquid wax, then it converted into gaseous wax. So wax is wax only, doesn't matter, it is changing only one of its physical property, that is its physical state. So wax is changing from solid state to liquid state, then liquid state to gaseous state. So this type of change is called a physical change, in which substance doesn't change into another substance, the substance remains the same, only the physical properties of the substance change. So a physical change is that change in which only physical properties of a substance are changed, however the substance remains same. No new substance is formed in physical change. So this example, in which any solid converts into liquid, or liquid converts into gas, or gas converts into liquid, or liquid converts into solid, such a change is called, such a change is an example of physical change. So in a physical change, new substance is not formed, only certain physical properties are changed, like shape may change, volume may change, mass may change, right? But the substance remains same. Okay, now when the wax vapors start burning, then they are reacting with oxygen, and then they are converting into another new substances. These new substances are carbon dioxide and water. So this is a chemical change, this is an example of chemical change, in which certain substances like wax and oxygen, these were the substances, wax and oxygen were the substances, these substances are changing into chemically different substances like carbon dioxide and water. So when substances change into another types of substances, by some chemical reaction. Such change is called chemical change, right? So any chemical change is a chemical reaction in which a new substance is formed from the older substances. Means certain substances get converted into another types of substances. Means the chemical properties of the substances get changed. So wax and oxygen are converting into carbon dioxide and water. New types of substances are formed. So this is the identity of a chemical change. So chemical change is such a change in which certain substances get converted into chemically different substances, right? In which new chemically different substances are formed. They are called chemical changes. Okay, so there are many examples of physical and chemical changes. For example, if you tear a paper, if you break a paper into pieces, this is a physical change, right? If you break a leaf from the plant, if you break a branch from the plant, if you sharpen your pencil, right? These all are examples of physical changes because the substances are remaining same, right? But if we talk about growth of a plant, then the plant is growing in size because of formation of new substances inside it. New cells are being formed, new proteins are being formed, new carbohydrates are being formed. So this is a chemical change. So growth of any organism is a chemical change. In the same way, rusting is also an example of chemical change, right? You know, during rust, iron reacts with oxygen and water and makes iron oxide, hydrated iron oxide, right? So that is a chemical change because iron and oxygen are converting into chemically different substance, iron oxide. So that is a chemical change. In the same way, when you burn something, whatever is burning, right, that is a chemical change. Okay, and in the same way, cooking of food also involves certain chemical changes. So when food is being cooked, certain chemical reactions are going on inside the food. So that is a chemical change. Okay, so my dear students, you should look around in your environment and try to look at the changes and try to find out, try to identify which one is chemical and which one is physical. What is the key? You have to identify that are any new substances formed in the change. If new substances are being formed, then it is chemical change. If new substances are not being formed, if the substance is same, then it is a physical change. Alright, thank you for watching the video. I hope you have got the concept of physical and chemical change. Dear students, somewhere in some books or sometimes you may find that physical changes are reversible changes, chemical changes are irreversible. This is a wrong concept. You have to forget about it. Leave it. Reversibility is not a criteria for classifying of change into physical and chemical changes. Thank you.